managing money in a relationship and things we did good.
Marriage and money and all the good stuff.
And all the bad stuff.
Okay.
If you number one, welcome to the More Than a Side Hustle podcast. We are your hosts, Anthony.
And I'm Janoka.
And today we'll be talking about marriage and money. And before we even get into that, if you're not married, you need to tune in because it's not just going to apply to people who are married. It's going to apply to business partners, spouses,
relationships. Because
dating.
I find that relationships can be similar in different settings. Like, obviously, a marriage may be different from a friendship, but there's still certain things you expect in relationships that you have with people. So
Definitely. Well, if you are new here, number one, we thank you for joining us. And if you're a returning listener, as always, we would love if you left us a 5-star review. And if you leave anything under 5 stars, hit us on the DMs before you leave that. So please go do that.
We've had a few of you go on and write us a review, which is, we really appreciate that, and we read it on here. So hopefully some more of you can continue to do that. And you're subscribing, sharing, all of that. Let people know what we're doing.
And it feels like it's been so long since we recorded. We were supposed to do an anniversary episode. We just celebrated 7 years, and we were supposed to do an anniversary episode. Yes. Yo, drop a bomb for that.
This is the anniversary episode. You said you're supposed to. This is it.
This is actually the anniversary
This is the anniversary episode.
And a couple weeks back, we actually re-released one of our older episodes when we talked about how we turned our wedding hashtag, if you look above us, if you're watching this on YouTube, the heart ceremony, how we turned our wedding hashtag into a 7-figure brand and business empire. So if you haven't watched that, please do. But this episode is going to be more about managing money in a relationship and things we did good.
Marriage and money and all the good stuff.
And all the bad stuff.
So, jumping right in.
What actually triggered this conversation too was right now, especially on social media, you're seeing a lot of those like conversations with
not now, always. There's always the $200 date.
Yep.
There's
always
always
all of that. We want to go viral this episode, so we gonna hit y'all hard with some viral worthy topics. $200 dates.
50-50. Okay. 50, I'm about to say, going 50-50, who paying for what?
I think
that is an ongoing, those two run Twitter, okay?
And Instagram and Shade Room. So we trying to get on the Shade Room, y'all. So make sure y'all tag us and repost some of this.
I ain't trying to be on the Shade Room.
Good, bad, and different. Good press is good press. All press is good press.
It's relative. But to jump in, that is a bit of the conversation that we always have and always see, and we like sit on the couch laughing as people come up with, this is what they would do when they ain't allowing this and they not allowing that, and it's like, well, get somebody first, sweetheart. On both sides of what they're allowing and not allowing. But before we jump into that, in regards to marriage, would you say you had any expectations about marriage? Maybe around money, maybe around just marriage in general. When you got married, because that was 7 years ago. What you know now is different from what you know then, obviously.
Nah, I think for me, with any relationship going in, you always think the best. And I think that there are some times where you should be thinking about the worst. When we got married, we did a Catholicism class because we're both, well, you were Catholic, now we're both Catholic, but we did a class.
What's it called?
Whatever it was, the Catholicism class.
That's not.
They literally, it's not just the good stuff.
It's pre-marriage counseling.
Pre-marriage counseling. So they want you to think about what happens if you can't do this, or what happens if she wants to adopt or he wants to adopt and you don't. So they make you think about all the bad things, which is actually, it brought out some really good conversations. Yeah. I remember us sitting down and was thinking like, damn, like
Everybody was thinking about that.
Because when you think about marriage, you think about, all right, I want the wedding, I want the cake, I want the party, I want the open bar. It's gonna be lit. But no one thinks about what happens if you guys, God forbid, can't do something. You can't conceive kids, or she wants to adopt, or you don't want to adopt, or she don't want to have kids. Like, no one's thinking about that stuff before marriage. A lot of people don't even talk about that stuff in relationships.
No, I mean, because I know a lot of people think, well, I don't want to think negatively, so I'm not going to bring about that. But I think the point of it was kind of, life happens. Not that you want to think negatively, but you kind of want to be prepared. It goes back to like the whole prenup thing where people say, well, I don't want to have a prenup because I don't expect a divorce. Right? I mean, you don't want to have insurance. You don't expect to get into a car accident. It's the same thing, right? It's the same type of meaning behind it. But going into marriage, I don't know that I had any expectations. One, I would say I was younger. So I think if you get married maybe at 35, 40 is different from when you get married at 27. To know like, well, this is exactly what I expect. But also, I didn't really grow up in a married household, right? Obviously, I have uncles and cousins and stuff that are married that I've seen before. And maybe I would have had more of an expectation if I was around that 24/7. But I didn't really have an expectation of what marriage would be, essentially. What are you looking for?
I'm listening to you now. I'm here. I was trying to find.
You can't multitask. It's something I tell you all the time.
No, I'm literally listening. I'm scrolling my phone right now if you guys aren't watching this on YouTube. But I was on Shade Room, and there was this lady, they post so much. There was this lady that says, if you are a woman of wealth, you should always get a prenup, because you mentioned prenup. And I was like, who just said this? And it was literally a famous person on Shade Room. I
mean, I have those conversations with people, and I'm like, I'm not against a prenup. And somebody's like, would you have gotten a prenup? I'm like, yeah, I would have, but I ain't had none.
So I didn't have nothing. If you're a woman of wealth, you should always get a prenup.
No, I didn't have nothing, because I actually did have a good amount of savings, but it wasn't anything I was thinking about at that point. Now, if it was where I am now... If it was where I am now to be getting married, then yes, I would definitely consider a prenup. But
you would get a prenup, right? What? I ain't know that. No, I'm kidding. And
it doesn't.
I'm one of those guys. A big deal. I'm one of those guys where I think right now, because we're married and we've built our wealth together, but I think mindset and growth and age obviously plays a huge part of it. But I think every person who comes into a relationship with something should have a prenup. And it's just like when you mentioned, I think one of the episodes we talked about going into business together, and we had an episode about marriage and business. But I think that everybody that's coming into a partnership or relationship, especially if they have their own, they should have something to protect that. And I think that's totally fine. You see the conversation like, oh, prenup, no prenup. It's like, fam, you ain't got nothing to protect anyway. Like most
of the people having a conversation ain't got nothing to protect.
Most of the people who having these prenup conversations ain't got a damn thing to their name. So what are they worried about someone stealing? You got a car note, you got some student debt. Like, no, actually take the student debt. If we get divorced, you can have the student debt. So what are we really talking about here? So, and it was on what was it on? We watch Atlanta
Housewives.
Who's the one to prenup on there?
Oh, Candy
and Todd.
One of the richest housewives.
That's a prenup situation. That shouldn't even be a conversation.
That shouldn't be a conversation. But they were doing it like days before.
Yeah,
that goes back issue or whatever.
And then that goes back to actually planning for your long-term relationship. If we are about to get married and we're talking about a prenup a week before the wedding, that is absolutely stupid.
Right.
That is absolutely foolish. You're preparing to fail. You are now putting one of the most high pressure weekly. I think the week of our marriage was probably the hardest, longest week of. Remember that week we had the party and it was a whole bunch.
It was the weekend before. Yeah.
So yeah, we had a party the week before, and then we had the dinner.
You turned 30.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Our May is normally the most busiest month for us. If you need us to do anything in May, just absolutely no, it's not happening. But you're asking the person that you're about to marry on the most stressful week of probably in the immediate future for a while to sign a document saying that I'm not entitled to anything that you have, or
it's
50,
not
50,
anything. Whatever if they're doing the prenup right,
whatever the agreement is. But you're waiting to the week of. That's absolutely stupid. Like, literally. We talk about marriage and money on this episode. Like, that's absolutely stupid. That's number one. Don't ask for a prenup the week of your wedding.
I don't know that she asked for it the week of. I think it was just dragged out to that.
Oh yeah, basically. That's probably what it was.
I don't know that it just came up. I think
you're like, I don't know.
It was back and forth of, do I like what's written? Whatever. But another thing I think about with getting married 7 years ago versus now is where we are financially. So we had a really big wedding. We had, I don't know, maybe 240, 250 people in New York type of wedding. I always say I wish I knew we was moving to Dallas prior to planning, because I would have done my wedding in Dallas. It would have been cheaper. But then I think about now, like, technically I can afford more now, and what that would look like, what a wedding or what a celebration would look like now versus then.
Or
7 years later when it comes to money. And how much, basically, I'll be willing to spend now versus then.
So you'd be willing to spend. Number one, you didn't have the money then.
How I didn't have the money?
How much did the wedding cost?
I don't know, but I had the money. It was all paid off. What are you talking about? I had the money.
Yeah, but it wasn't like we had a house, we had a car, we were still in debt. So when people talk about I got the money, yeah, I got the money, but you really don't. Still living at home
because I have the money because I paid for it and I didn't go into debt for it. So I do have the money. I just don't have the money for the student loans, but I have the money for the wedding.
You need to go viral for that.
I'm just saying, I have the money.
I'd rather have a wedding that costs $30,000 than to pay off $30,000 of student loans.
That's what you're saying?
That's what you just said.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely how I felt and probably how I feel now.
Wow,
I'm all about the moments. The student loan's gonna be there. In the career that I am in my 10 years, it will go away or it won't, whatever the case may be. By the way, we don't have student loans, so this is all hypothetical. But yeah, that would be my mindset behind the student loans gonna be there.
So gentlemen, make sure you ask your spouse what's more important to them before you get into your marriage or engagement. If you guys are in debt and you sitting there like, listen, baby, the
thing is, no one's sitting there doing that. Neither you or me were sitting there like, oh, we got student loans. What we gonna pay these student loans or pay this wedding? That was never even a discussion.
So, gentlemen, like I was saying, if you are in debt and you sitting there with your spouse and you say, and this is the purpose of the podcast. Maybe there's a youngster out there or oldster out there, and they're like, listen, I'm thinking about this marriage conversation. Sit down and have the conversation. Like, all right, we're both in debt. How much do we really want to spend on this wedding? You got $30,000 in loans. This wedding's gonna cost $30,000. How about we cut? Somewhere? And if they say, and wasn't this a conversation? I love these Instagram conversations. There was something where this woman said, I want to buy a house or something like that. And the man said, hey, let's do this first. And I think she had a down payment for the house. And he said, I'm going to use his down payment to pay off some debt or something like that. And she's like, no, send me my down payment back. And like the wedding is off. This is like,
I don't get what you're saying. So he took the money and paid for a house and she wanted to pay for a different debt?
She wanted to buy a house.
Right.
And she sent him like the down payment. Number one, I don't know why she's sending him the down payment, but either way. Mm-hmm. So she's sending him the down payment. And he said, instead of us buying this house, how about we use this money to pay off our debt? Like, I'll match the down payment and we pay down some debt. And she said, no, why would you think about that? I'd rather get the house, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And then he said, babe, if you're serious about our future, let's do this. And she was like, no, send me my money back and the wedding's off type of thing.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that one, but I think it's a stretch to say the wedding is off, but that means there's probably a bigger money issues is how I see it and how they communicate when it comes to money.
This is why they should have had this podcast before. This
Either
is
way,
super important.
The thing about it is when it comes to money, people going to do what they want.
They are.
And people know maybe what's right or wrong. And this is not me saying paying off debt is right because I don't technically believe that. Paying off the student loan debt is right versus getting married at all because I'm all about experiences. I'm all about like people be like, yeah, but it's just one day. Cool. One day I'm going to remember forever. I have pictures, I have video, I have experience. That's what I like. So everybody has their own individual thing as to what they value. Mm-hmm. And so I think it just depends on the person in the relationship, but also the main point of this is having that communication, right? Mm-hmm. And having those discussions as to what do you think about this? This is what I'm feeling. Should we move forward with this? So on and so forth. Which brings me to that whole money conversation about 50-50. What a man should pay for versus what a woman should pay for, so on and so forth. And I don't know. We put our money together. So I guess we paying 50-50. I guess we 50-50 essentially.
No.
Right? It's all in one pot.
And we've done this from day one too.
So the money that I make, the money that you make is all in one pot.
So it's not 50-50.
So what is it?
100-100.
You are giving some of you. Yeah, I guess it's 100-100. I guess so.
I'm not giving you half of my money and you're giving half to one pot. No, it's
all.
I'm giving you 100% of my money that I make
from anything.
From anything. You are putting 100% of everything that you make.
Yeah. Only thing I be keeping is when I get gifts. I keep my gifts, my birthday money. Like my family still gives me birthday and Christmas money. Then I'll keep that. Because he gets his own, so then he.
I don't get my own. I don't got no family giving me money.
But my family gives you money.
They don't give me no money, baby.
What are you talking about
like
for Christmas? Like, excuse me, just $50. Now it's a little something.
I'm just saying it's not enough for me to hoard from the family.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
I'm just
about
getting
a
50
pack
or
of gum?
100 still. It's still money that I could keep. Now, I'm not running away with it, but it's still money I could keep. So we're a household that we put everything together. I know people believe that some people's values is that the man would pay for everything or majority of it. When we first started out and we were in the house in Brooklyn, I was paying for, what was I paying for? I think groceries and cable.
Yeah.
And you were paying for rents and then whatever else we had. Not much expenses, I guess.
Yeah.
So groceries and cable is what I would pay for because I was making significantly less. And then we were just boyfriend and girlfriend at that time. So it was like, at that time, it was no merging of money specifically. But once we got married, it was like green light to that.
So that's another thing too, is like, how do you manage your money before you even get to that stage? So boyfriend and girlfriend, engagement, marriage.
Engagement, I think that brings it another step closer to being more serious, so you tend to do more things.
Yeah, I think at the engagement stage, that might have been when we merged our, or
we got an account.
So we got
A
engaged, and then we created a bank account at
Uh-huh.
Chase, and we started putting money into that account.
We put the money into that account to help to pay for the wedding.
Yep.
That's where all the money was going to be. We both still had our extra money, our own monies in our own bank, wherever that was, but that Chase account was specifically for that. And we were communicating of like, this is how much we're going to need upcoming. I could put in 2. Can you put in 3? So on and so forth. And at that time, you had a way higher paying job than I did.
Yeah.
So that was another thing as well. But I think keeping the expectations and communication open will be essential for any relationship, but specifically when it comes to marriage, because money is like the number one reason why people divorce. And it seems so simple to discuss, but I know many people that have difficulty doing it though.
Gabrielle Union was talking about, I know she had went viral by talking about that 50-50 comment, but she was like, I deal with financial trauma. She was mentioning there's a bunch of things that wasn't mentioned when she went viral a couple weeks back. She mentioned that they're supporting a whole nother household.
Well, no, they're both supporting multiple households, is what she said. Like he supports maybe.
Break that down. I don't. You know more than me when it comes.
Well, no, she says like he supports maybe 1 or 2 households. She supports another 2 households. So maybe it's a combine of 4 households that they're supporting plus their household. So she was saying this is what like you said, the trauma. This works for her of being able to just split it 50-50 and for no one feeling like so on and so forth. Once again, I'm not in their tax bracket, so it's what I say is kind of null and void. But at one point, I can get the conversation of people saying, like, I don't know how much D Wade makes. Let's say $300 million. Let's go with that. I can get the conversation of D Wade makes
$300 million 10 years. So it'd be like $30 million a year.
Okay, so he makes $30 million.
Probably about 10.
Let's say D Wade is making $30 million a year, and that's
still pretty high. I'd probably say about.
Along with
15.
other things, the NBA, do they give you a pension when you leave?
I think he has some endorsements.
Let's go with 30 a year to make it. Okay, now
10.
He's down to 10. I was at 300 a year for him. Now he's down to 10. So say he's getting 10 million a year, and she's getting exactly, and she's getting 3 million a year.
That sounds about right.
So to hear that of someone saying, when I'm splitting that 50-50, that sounds very bizarre. I would agree to that. Like someone is making significantly more than you. Why would you be doing 50-50? But what works in your household works in your household. And if they're putting it together, kind of like it doesn't really matter. That's how I see it. You checking for his income?
He actually makes $34 million over the next 2 years from Miami.
Okay, yeah, they get a pension from NBA when they leave.
No, it's just based on his contract.
He left that thing years ago. How long is his contract?
I don't know. This might be old data.
Okay.
But sometimes during the contract, he's made over $200 million from the NBA total.
Okay. So he's a high earner.
Based on how the contract ends and if he opted out or if they let him off the hook, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Sorry.
So he's a high earner. So I can understand how that can feel like, well, why the hell would we be splitting this 50-50? But once again, if it works for you, she mentioned having some trauma and they both are supporting other households. Hey, go for it. And I think money trauma can play a big part of how you make decisions or how you show up or how you spend your money in your relationships, in your marriage as well. You speak about that too. Yeah,
that's one of the big things, especially that, and your relationship to money is huge, and that's something that you need to discuss before going into any financial
Yeah,
relationship.
child.
We ain't even talking about just business. If you have a bad, not a bad, I don't want to say bad. That's the wrong word. If you have a negative experience with money, meaning everything you relate to money is always something negative, you need to be aware of that. And if you can't,
Or just your relationship with
or relationship, if you have a negative relationship with money, you need to be made aware of that, so that now any person you come in contact with in terms of business, marriage, spouses, whatever it is, they can
Friendships.
be friendships. Like if
We going on trips, we're going on things together. You need to know.
I need to know
What type of friend are you?
how committed are we to this marriage of this money? Because if you are the type of person and I can't trust you with your money, I should be made aware of that.
Yeah.
If you're like, listen, I'm really not the best with money, you need to manage the money for the account, or you need to manage the money for the household, or you need to manage the money for this trip, or this whatever, or this business venture. Or you like, listen, I have a gambling problem. Like, I need to be made aware of that. I think it's important. I think it's important. You need to let the person that you're dealing with in on the situations that you're going through. Like us, going back to financial trauma, shout out to my man, Rakim. He always talks about financial trauma and things we go through, especially in the Black community. So for me, my relationship with money was a negative place. It's like, all right, it's always leaving. You always have to work hard for it. It's not always going to be there. So you need to coddle it. You need to hold it tight. You need to not let it go. And then now, once I've recognized that, I'm a lot more free with money especially when it comes to investing. Like, I'm okay with investing. I'm okay with growing our money. I'm okay with doing those type of things, so that now we could always make more of it.
Yeah. Well, that's the other part of it. His thing is always, is it an asset, or what's another thing you said? Is the asset the word you use, or what? Something else that you always question,
Or liability.
Or is it bringing you any money? And I'm like, everything I buy don't got to bring me money, and everything I buy is not going to be an asset. I am okay with that. And that's an ongoing conversation that we have. I'm like, that's okay for me. Everything that comes in here or that I purchase, I don't expect a return on it. But you sometimes are like, you do expect a return. You do expect that you can make some type of profit from it. And that's an ongoing conversation that we have. I agree that you've gotten better, at least with spending too, because I feel like I'm the complete opposite when it comes to that. Not that I grew up rich, but I feel like I grew up middle class. I never wanted for anything. Honestly, when I think back of like, oh, did you ever want something you didn't get? Not really. And my relationship with money is completely different. So now that we continue to raise our income and make more money over the past 5 years, really, that's a conversation that we have of, well, we're saving for how long? For what? Like, when are we going to be able to spend? We can't keep, just what if? We can't keep saving for a rainy day. The rainy day ain't going to rain that hard. Like, all those things come into play. All those things we have conversations about. But sometimes on the other side, for me, when we speak about emergency funds, it's like, at one point, it was 3 months emergency fund. Then it became, let's have a 6-month emergency fund. Then it became, we need a year. Then we're like, let's be realistic, really. God forbid, if we're still able bodies, do we really need a year to get our life back in order? Probably not. No. Probably you don't even need 6 months, thank God. But, those type of things, it's like, how do you let go of that? How do you grow from that and continue to have those conversations with your spouse about that too?
And that comes to like your level of risk when it comes to like how much you need to save. Because before, I think you wanted to do a year. Yeah. And I was like, we don't need a year. And then it was like, 8 months. We don't need 8 months. We don't need 6 months. And then it was like, all right, 3 months would be okay. Yeah.
Because you still have other things, right? You still have other avenues of money to access it, basically.
So what's your risk level when you go into these relationships, when whether it's financial, whether it's with the spouse? What's your risk level? Are you like the type of person that's like, yo, I don't need no emergency fund, I don't need no savings, I'm investing it all, I'm throwing it all on black, I'm throwing it all on red at the casino? Is that your...
I'm about to say, what's black? Oh, you're talking about the casino. Yeah.
Is that, if that's your level of risk, then you probably need to let somebody know that, all right, I am a high risk person, or I'm a low risk person. I'm a person that's like, yo, I can't have no risk here. I think for us, our level of risk is more moderate. Like, we'll take enough risk where we're okay with losing the money, but we're not gonna take enough where
we're in the hole.
Yeah, it's not gonna be a big enough risk where it's like, oh damn, this has completely shifted our life. But that's good and bad too. It might be something like Bitcoin was. Who was that? We were just talking about somebody with Bitcoin.
Somebody was saying they had Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, I was on a call with somebody, We're going to talk about that in another episode. But I was on a call with somebody, and they said, yeah, I made $1 million in Bitcoin. And I was like, oh, that's dope. You know, how much you got now? And they said, I lost it all. Now, for them, they was like, you know what? I made $1 million. I probably didn't put much in. It was a high risk and high return. I was able to put in, $10,000, and let's say it grew to 60, and then from there, it just kept going. But now you're back to where you started. For me, I probably wouldn't have made $1 million. I probably would have made 10,000, and all right, cool, I'm good, I'm out.
Losing $1 million.
So now you're back to exactly where you started because your risk level was high, but then now you on ground zero. Yeah. But the problem is that you can never risk the house if you can't afford to not live where you are. You risk the house and you ain't got it no more. Now you got to figure out where else you're going to live.
Yeah.
So never risk the house, people.
When you were just speaking about the risk level, I realized we wrote down some notes of things that you should have a conversation about before getting married. You should have, and risk level was on there. So one of the other things is debt. We are debt free. However, prior to getting married, we didn't talk about how much. Well, yeah, it was casual. Yeah, I got this amount of debt, student loans. And neither of us really had credit card debt or car debt. Both of our cars were paid off. But it was student loans that we primarily had. When we eventually was paying off our debt, the credit card debt we had did together. So how much does the other person have in debt? I mean, just so you're aware, right? And I know I've seen those conversations. Well, I don't feel like I should take it on. I ain't gonna get into that. But just so you're aware of how much debt the other person has, that impacts your life, your goals. Some people don't plan to pay their student loans, so that's fine. But is there a credit card debt? Is your credit down bad because you didn't pay debt? Was that 5 years ago or was that last month? You know what I mean? So those type of things I think is a conversation you should be having at this big age, at least.
Yeah, this.
If I'm 21, maybe not. But
Alex Hormozy, if you guys don't know who he is, Google him. He said his first business venture was opening up gyms with people, and he was doing fairly well when he started that business. He also started it with someone who had a high income, and he realized down the road that the person had a high income, but then they also owed a lot of people. And he didn't know that. And eventually that turned into a sour relationship where they essentially liquidated like the bank account or something like that. And he kind of got in that situation. And now the person's probably not going to be 100% with you and let you know, hey, I got a lot happening on this other side of things. But if you do have a lot of debt and you might
scam on the side.
Yeah, you got that situation happening, you should need to let somebody know, especially before marriage, but then also before business too. They need to be made aware of that so that now they can make a decision based on the information you gave them. All right, here's both my hands, they're open. Now you have to make a choice based on what I'm telling you. You want my income, here you go, but you also got to take my debts along with it. And just know they may come and liquidate your bank accounts.
Nah.
So that's something that you should be thinking about.
Something else to think about, spending habits. We touched on that. What that looks like for the other person, because I feel like that can impact your future as well. Like, are you the type that you're not, you're going to spend your rent money? Then that's something that I should know. Or maybe you're the type that, I like to spend here and there. I have the money. We're not going, I'm paying off my credit card bills every month. That information is crucial. Contributing to any other household. I feel like that's important, especially for our community.
We spoke about that with Gabrielle Union.
Yeah, but we're speaking about with our community, like letting other people know, like, yeah, I'm contributing to dad's account or my mother or my sister or my brother's in college.
Who are you supporting? Yes,
right.
Yes,
and my brother's in college and I'm sending money to him.
That's actually a big one.
That's a big one. People be saying like, well, he paying his mom rent.
Yep.
And mom ain't saying hi to me. Like,
that's a big one.
Should he continue to pay mom's rent? So that is something that I should be aware of because all these things impact our future.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, unless you're a very, very high income earner and it doesn't impact it at all. Maybe that's the case, but most of the time it's not. So all these things impact our future. Like child support affects your future.
Yeah, that's going to be, that you're paying child support. But like family.
Well, I need to know if you're paying child support. I may not know that.
Yes, you.
Okay, I'm just saying. Because then you can't leave you can't leave certain places because you backed up on your child support.
Okay, babe, I get the child support. All right. So, like, if you you mentioned paying for other households. So your mom, your brothers, your sister, your aunts, your uncles. How often are they coming to you for money? You have to set that budget aside for them too. Like, all right, I need to spend at least $1,000 a month on my family, and here's how it impacts us as a household. So that's something huge that you got to think about.
Yes. Income, obviously, how much are we making? How much are we bringing in? I think that's...
When do you tell somebody how much you make?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Some people say they ask them on the first date, and I'm like,
That's
wow.
wild.
I know.
That's wild. I'm not asking nobody on the first date how much you make. That's
well, you're not dating.
If I was dating, I would not ask somebody on the first date how much you make. Because what's the relevancy of that conversation?
It's a different world we're living in now because people are saying that the men are asking, do you cook on the first date too? Can you cook?
How about we figure out if I could cook or not? Like, you get to the point where you decide if I could cook or not based on our relationship.
I'm just telling you what they say in men are asking.
So how about we just start having people fill out applications before they start dating?
A Google form.
A Google form. Google
Don't
sheet,
waste my time.
Type form. You could do whatever you want. DocuSign. Have people fill out an application before you start dating them so that you can know how much they make, how much they're going to cook, if they can cook, do they got to support their mom, do they got a baby mother, do they got a baby father, do they got any of this stuff. Have them fill out an application so you know all of that.
Anybody that
date
submits an application to you before a date, you're going to run for the hills. You're going to be like, this person is doing too much.
Or this person is extremely serious about their future and they want to know how much debt you have, how much you make, all of that stuff. Literally.
Do you have any kids on the
side? I'm going to give you our questionnaire.
Are you a scammer?
You know what? We're going to give you our questionnaire and you send this to everybody you about to date. Before the first date, they fill out this application and you let them know you're serious. And you fill out the application and send to them.
Let them know.
So that they can make a decision if they want to continue dating you from day one. Or before day one. Let's not waste nobody's time out here, people.
Back to, okay, well, we spoke about risk level. That's why I kind of remembered it. We did speak about risk level, what it is for each of you. Savings. Do you have a savings? I know statistics say, I don't know what the statistics say exactly in regards to numbers.
I know statistics say, but I don't know the exact number.
I don't got the exact number.
There's a stat out there somewhere, but I don't know what
about
the stat
Americans not being able to afford $500. Emergency.
But our car payment is $700 a month.
Yeah, there's a high stat. Find the stat
I'm
about what it is. But so, do we have a savings? What that looks like? You know, do you continue to plan to grow it? Whatever that conversation. Now, these are things also that you're having with someone that I would think that you're planning to be serious with. I don't know that you ask these questions on the first date. But maybe you want to like know from the beginning, like let's not waste each other's time. But
I told you
these are things that we say that you should discuss before getting married. So probably before you buy the ring, you know, that type of stuff.
So before the engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. And then financial goals. What are the goals that we have that you know the person has? Are they wanting to eventually buy a building, a boat? Like what are the financial goals?
Building
like.
a boat.
You never know. Like, how is that going to impact me? Can I keep up with that? Does that separate us? Are you flying to Miami for this? Like, all these type of things, I think, play into it. Financial goals, I think about business goals as well, if the person has that. And if they know, obviously, things change year to year.
I was talking to one of my friends about that, too, and they said that they were starting to date someone, and they started getting into more deep conversations. And that conversation did come up, like, what are some of your just goals in general? And the person was like, I don't really have any goals about things I want to accomplish or do. And the more that he dug into that conversation, the more he realized that there was going to be no long-term relationship with that person. He's like, they don't have any goals. They don't have any aspirations. They're just like, I want to just work my job, and which is fine. But what do you want to do outside your job? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want to do any of that? And he said, I cannot see a future with this person based on the conversation that we were diving into. And the more deeper I dove, the bigger hole or grave that was being dug. And it ended up being a dead end. It was like, you know what, this may not be for me. Let's cut ties.
But when I think about that, I think I say that to myself also. I'd be like, well, I don't know what my goals are. I don't really have any goals. I don't really have any, what's the word I'm looking for? Hobbies.
What's your dream place to travel?
Oh, so I have dreams to travel places, you're saying?
Goals are goals. Like, what do you want to do? What do you wake up every day for?
A child.
If your life revolves around your child, you need to.
I don't mean to revolve, but I do need to get up. I need to hit the gym to unbig my back. I need to do those type of things.
You keep saying that. What does that even mean?
It's the thing that went popular on social media. They just said like the summer is coming near, like a month before they in the gym unbigging their back, basically.
My goal.
But anyway,
if you said my goal is to be in the best shape of my life, then okay, that's a goal. You said traveling, like what's your dream place to travel? But he said this person absolutely.
But then once you hit it, then I no longer have a goal anymore. Like once I make it to the Maldives, if that's my dream place, I no longer have a goal anymore. I'm just saying, being devil's advocate because I say this a lot when it comes to like hobbies and goals. Sometimes I feel like I don't really have something that I would say when somebody asks me. So I don't know who the young lady is, but maybe there's more to her.
Maybe. I don't know. I just like, all right, well, maybe you dodged a bullet, maybe not.
Maybe not.
If it's meant to be, y'all will come back together. But I think it is important to ask that question to find out if you're like, listen, I want to leave my job and travel the world, and it's like, well, I don't want to ever leave my job, and I don't want to leave the United States. Then you recognize that may not be for you because you're going to be traveling the world and they're going to be stuck at their job.
Like, I ain't never leaving.
And y'all ain't never going to do nothing together. So think about some of your goals outside of finances too. Very important.
So those are some of the conversations we would suggest that you have prior to getting married. But even when you get married and get into the relationship and routine of things, we do find that sometimes, and even in our relationship, things fall on one person. And the other person has no idea what's happening. So you know how you hear so many times.
Give me an example of that.
Yeah, I'm saying right now. You know how you hear somebody passes away and they're like, well, I don't even know what a checkbook is at. I don't even know how to pay the mortgage. I don't know how to pay this and that and the other.
That's a big one.
I feel like that, like, okay, I get it that the person takes care of that. But at some point, you need to know how to access it, where to find it, even if you're not doing it. Like, just write the password down or something. Whatever it is you may need when it comes to paying these things for you to continue to function if something did happen. What happens to my thing here? Okay. If something did happen, like paying the car note, paying the mortgage, where do I find the will? Are you a beneficiary on the bank account? I don't know. These are just some of the things that come up that I see in like on Lifetime movies or in general that people have the spouse, male or female, wife or husband, has no idea where the things are or what to do.
Well, forget Lifetime. That happens in real life.
I know.
Every single time a celebrity dies, no one knows what's happening with the estate. Every single time.
Well, that means because they didn't have a will in place. I'm just talking about like the basics of surviving as well. Still, like if you need.
So let me walk through some survival tactics right here, y'all. I'm gonna help y'all make it.
Are you in the army?
I'm gonna help y'all make it through this tough time. So here's the first thing we're gonna do. We're gonna find out if they have a will.
Okay. I'm like,
if you're 21, 22, you probably don't have a will. But let's you know what? Let's even go a little bit before that. So when my best friend passed, you realize how much stuff you need when someone passes and they're a close person to you. So what was the first thing I needed access to? Think about it, babe.
Amazon.
No. If I had access to this, I could probably have access to everything else.
His phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the phone, getting access to someone's phone, you know my password?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Getting access to someone's phone is probably one of the most important things you could do at least like a basis. Because if I had the access to the phone, I could probably log into things. I could probably check out the email. I could probably do a few things inside his account to save us problems in the future. So, if you don't have access to someone's phone, I recommend you doing that. If you are
or
in a
someone
relationship,
doesn't have access to your phone, like if no one has your password or no one has everything, somebody should have it.
Listen, there are so many, like you lose out on that information on that phone.
Yeah, that's important.
Now you don't have the pictures that person took. You don't have the memories. You don't have the emails. You don't have the documents. You don't realize how much stuff we actually record in our mobile devices. This little device right here holds more than all these cameras combined. I've had the memories in this phone go back at least 14 years.
Yeah.
And that's 14 years of data. Now I have access to the cloud and stuff like that. But if you don't have access to a person's mobile device, that could be the bare minimum thing that keeps those memories alive.
Yeah, that's one thing. The phone. And you know, I know for him, no one's thinking about that because we're like, oh, he's living by himself. Like, you don't really think about that. So the phone, the computer, that was the number two. I didn't have access to the phone, and then we tried to get to the computer, and then we locked ourselves out. And then, like, even bank accounts, even if you
Number three, I'm sorry to cut you off. Number three was the bank account because we called the bank, and they said it has to wait. We have to wait at least a month.
Well, no, even if you have someone's, like, PIN, right, for the bank, if somebody passes and you try to go into their bank account with the PIN or whatever to the ATM, that's considered fraud because the person has passed. Unless you are a beneficiary on their bank account. So that's another thing, making sure that you are a beneficiary or obviously not a shareholder, but what are we on our bank accounts? Like, it's two of us. Access. You have access, or whatever the case may be.
Account holder.
Yeah, account holder. Unless you're account holder, sorry, then you can't get access. So even if, that was another thing I know I spoke to, like, my mother. I'm like, even if I know your PIN, I can't access your money. That money would just be courts or whatever is the process to get that money out.
Yep.
So you need to have somebody as a beneficiary on your bank account, regardless if you're like, oh, this person has my PIN. That's not enough.
My man's had money in that account. So just to recap. So number one, very bare minimum, phone. If you don't even want to go to the bank account or any of this stuff yet, the phone would be number one thing you give a person access
like
to.
Apple at this point has, and then maybe if they don't, they have that you can have somebody if something happened, right? That's why I think
they added it just for my man's. Like they literally added it after that. So now you could add a person as a beneficiary on your phone.
Yeah.
Number two, laptop device, mobile device, things like that. And number three is a bank account. So make sure you at least have one of those threes.
Yeah.
Maybe all three at this point.
And if you live alone, I would say even more somebody should know, because, you know, it tends to be, if we're together, I have my own signing, you got your own. So generally, not everybody has that. So you should have that set up as well. But somebody else should know investments account, all these other things that are played into where you may have money that once and if you pass away, the government and them companies gonna be like, well, your name ain't on here, so nobody can access this 100,000 you got sitting here. Which you don't want that. So making sure that that's in place. So I think that's even more important as to why you talk about money with your spouse and you make sure that you're in place for, like, you know, both of you guys can access these accounts, and don't just like, well, Janoka pays the mortgage, so I have no idea where it's going. I don't know how much we pay. I have no idea. And then that's how he's doing the hotel rooms on the side and you don't know.
Okay, on that note, I don't think I had anything else.
No, but what else do we want to add when it comes to marriage and money?
I think that was it.
Those were the main things. Yeah, the death of the $200 dates.
Listen, our first date was at
Applebee's,
and that probably cost $50.
My favorite restaurant is Red Lobster, actually.
We go to Red Lobster. We talking $200 dates, y'all.
Yeah, I know.
Listen, we are millionaires.
You ain't spending no $200 in Red Lobster or Applebee's.
We are millionaires.
What are you buying?
And I go to Chili's on my birthday, and we go to Red Lobster at least once a quarter.
Yeah.
Y'all talking about $200 dates. Listen, y'all.
I mean, we do those too, but
y'all talking about $200 dates, and y'all are worried about the wrong things. If your focus is how much somebody spends on that first date, you may want to die single.
Oh, another good one.
You may want to die single. Like, don't get married. Don't get engaged. Don't do anything. Just stay single and enjoy your cats. And that's it.
Not the cats, shall, because those just... Another good one was a discussion about it's not about marriage. It's about money, but, you know, eventually a lot of people want to get married. It's about people using, like, Groupons or coupons on first dates.
I ain't getting into all that. I think y'all got the concept of this episode. We're celebrating 7 years. We've used Groupons.
Exactly, I'm about to say.
Like,
use coupons.
Stop listening to. We talking about really important shit on here.
Whoa.
I'm not what. I'm getting spicy. I'm getting. We talking about really important stuff on this podcast, and
yeah.
And I'm okay. We do it. Like, if you got a Groupon, I mean, it's me and you.
Well, the thing about it is the first date. They're not saying you can't use it.
Son.
Is it okay to use it on the first date?
Son.
Your answer?
Son, I've been married 7 years, so yes. You told me the wrong guy.
Would you use it on the first date?
Nah, I ain't using it on the first date.
Exactly. That's the question. The first date, not ever.
All right. Let me show you what. Let me tell you what to do. If you got a coupon and you know you're going to use it on that first date, here's what you do. My bad. Here's what you do. You show up to the date early. To the date early. You let the server know. Listen, y'all, I'm gonna use this coupon here.
Yeah, take it on the side.
$20 off, $40 off Red Lobster. What if you had to use $40?
Wow, you got a Groupon for Red Lobster? Wow.
If I got a Groupon for Red Lobster,
go on Tuesdays where they have the limited shrimp.
If I got a Groupon for Red Lobster, I probably shouldn't be dating. But neither here nor there. Let's say I did use a discount or a code or a coupon for a restaurant. I'm showing up to that restaurant early, submitting it to the server and letting them know, hey, you mention this, I will kill you. Do not mention this. Use it up, and then I'm going to give you the tip on top of that. Like, hold that. There you go. They're going to make sure you good. You're going to show up looking like the man. Like, I just saved y'all the $200 date. I saved y'all at least half off. Men, women, I don't care. You too.
Well, they usually ain't paying for nothing on the first date. That's another conversation. I might get into that now.
Yeah, another conversation.
But thank you so much, you guys, for joining us for another episode of More Than a Side Hustle podcast. We are live every Tuesday morning in your ears, wherever you listen to podcasts at. Also catch us on YouTube for the visuals. Make sure you're subscribing and sharing, letting people know what we're talking about every single week. Thank you again.
Appreciate you guys. Y'all have a fantastic week, and we will see you guys next Tuesday.
Bye-bye.
Peace.